Okay, so hello, this is just a little build for my Nord DK tank. You can be a Nord, an Imperial, Argonian, even a Breton if you want really good sustain, but the Nord is quite handy because it gives you quite a few resistance passives. So first of all, the character. I've got all my attribute points into health. Then I've got the boon is the Atronach, which gives you the magicka recovery. And then your main food, the best food, is the Bewitched Sugar Skulls. So that gives you max health, stamina, magicka, and then the extra health recovery. There is a lesser food which doesn't give you the health recovery, which is cheaper to make, but this is really what you want if you're going to be doing a harder content. On the attributes page, these stats will change slightly depending on which sort of sets you're wearing. At the moment I've got Yonakrin and Allocation. Those are your standard sets for trials and dungeons where you want to be given the max damage possible to your DDs. Generally speaking, you want your health to be pretty much as close to 40k or above as you can. You really don't want to go any lower than what I have at the moment. Basically because your heals and your shields are based on your health. They become more effective if you have higher health. So if you drop down to like 32, 33k health, suddenly your shields are less effective, your heals are less effective. Stamina around about 20k, and magicka you can have slightly lower. Now the reason for this is you put on your green dragon blood and that lifts up your stamina recovery and your health recovery by 40%. So now my stamina recovery is at 953, but my magic recovery is at 11k. So higher magic recovery, but slightly less max magicka. Lots of health recovery is always handy. For resistances, once you've got your major resolve on, they're pretty much at the cap or even slightly above. So that's perfect there. So as I said, I've currently got on Alkosh and Yonakrin's standard sets for trials and dungeons. Also the hardest to tank in because they really don't give you any benefits, little benefits. Alkosh doesn't give you any health, doesn't give you any stamina, magicka, anything. Yonakrin gives you a little bit of health and a little bit of stamina, but no shields, no heals, nothing like that. So I find it you've got the least resources with Yonakrin and Alkosh, but it's a really good set to get used to tanking in. The enchantments on the weapons and the traits are probably the most important. So you always want to have, the most important one is this one. You want to have a crusher enchantment with either a charged or an here we go, where are we? Charged or infused. So you want to make sure your crusher enchantment, which reduces your physical and spell resistances of your target, which is obviously really important, with infused or charged, because that makes that enchantment more effective. And then your other weapon, whether that be your staff or your sword, should have your decisive trait with your weakening enchantment. The decisive gives you extra ultimate. Now, your Nord DK, your DK is really ultimate based. Your ultimate regen is super fast, so this just helps add to it and really helps you get your ultimate up really quickly so that you can get resources back when you use it. So decisive trait with a weakening enchantment, and infused or charged trait with your crusher enchantment. Your shield just be sturdy, and then whatever trait you feel you need, whether it be your multi-effect or just max health stamina. That shouldn't be in Divine, so ignore that. I don't have the transmutes to change it yet. Generally speaking, you want to have mostly sturdy, maybe one reinforced piece and one infused piece, and all the rest should be sturdy. At the bottom, on your neck, I generally have a bracing enchantment, so it just reduces the cost to block that a little bit more. And then the rings, you swap these about quite a bit. Sometimes you'll have a magic recovery or stamina recovery. You can also have reduce prismatic cost, so that will reduce the cost of all stamina, magicka, and health abilities by a certain amount. That can be really handy. So it really just mess about with it as much as you need until you get your stats to be something around there, particularly the health. For the skills, This is sort of my base layout. Some of them change. This is your most important one, Pierce Armour. It's your main taunt. Hardly costs anything, so you can really spam it. The reason it's really important is down at the bottom, Minor Breach and Major Breach. That actually got a buff. It used to just be your Major Breach. So really debuffs everything as well as taunting. Then you've got your Heroic Slash. The main reason you use that is for the Minor Maim. Reduces the damage done, and more ultimate regen there with your Minor Heroism. This is an absolutely fantastic shield. Defensive stance. It's in the one-handed shield skill line as well. That's a really nice shield. 11k. I think that goes up to 15k, almost 15k, depending on what CP points you have in. You also reflect any projectile, your first projectile or next projectile, and then down at the bottom, your block becomes 10% more effective, and the cost is reduced by 10%. Now, I've seen most guides use the morph of this, which I think you heal when you take in this projectile, but you don't have that 10% stat, and I think that's really important, especially when you're taking heavy attacks in a Vet DLC dungeon. Like, that makes a big difference. This is a new skill that I've just started leveling up, so I haven't got the morph of it yet. This gives you a major resolve, your physical and spell resistance by 6k, so you really want that up constantly. It gives you sort of knockback and disabling effect immunity as well, but your movement speed reduced by 65%. Now the morph of this is really handy. For every piece of heavy armor you have equipped, the cost of breaking free is reduced by 5%. So you can get that up to like 25 to 35% reduce of your break free cost, which is amazing, because right now I have like 30, 40, maybe even 50 CP points in that. If I could take those out, they could be used for regen or something somewhere else. Green Dragon Blood, heal, and health and recovery and stam recovery. So you should always have that up and then use it as a heal when you need to as well. This is your oh boy, I'm about to die ultimate. Only use it when you really need to. Most of the time you should be using your warden, which would be in your other bar. Pack bar. This can be a lightning staff or an ice staff. It just depends what build you're going for. With Allocation I have the lightning staff. Leeching I have an ice staff. Obviously ice staff now gives everyone major brittle, or minor brittle rather, which is a little shield, so it's possibly more effective than a lightning staff these days. Blockade of Storms, really good for just taunting everyone in the area, or catching them nice and quick, and obviously puts your enemies off balance, or stunned or chilled or whatever if you've got the ice version. This is your ranged taunt. That's from the Undaunted skill line. I recently changed the morph, so it's not finished leveling up yet. Talons, really handy skill for your DKs. Snare everyone in the area, and does minor maim as well. And the Ignite Synergy, which allies can activate, and does a ton of magicka damage. So you should really be using that whenever you've got ads around. Other really handy skill, pull your enemies in. The other advantage of this is what you can actually do, which I'll show you here. If you pull it and then the enemy doesn't move because it can't be moved, you get the magicka back, but you can see I'm still doing, well, 3k damage on this. It depends. So I'm still doing damage. So if I'm the only one left alive and there's like 70k left on the boss, I will just spam this and line attacks, and it slowly but surely gets them down. Because, you know, why not? Okay, the last skill I switch around quite a lot. Some people use the morph of this, which you don't have to put down as often and it costs less, but instead of being your allies being healed for 65%, it's only 40%. So I think more health is important than a few resources for me. Other things you can put down instead of this one's quite important: Engulfing Flames. The reason being, down here at the bottom, flame damage attacks are increased. The damage taken is increased by a maximum of 10%. Now if you have a mag DK, they should be using that instead of you, but if you don't have a DK in the group, straight away you're increasing everyone's damage by 5% with flame damage. So it's really good. Sometimes if I've got a really hard boss and then everyone's getting hit quite a lot, I'll use Bone Surge. I don't use that often, so it's not even fully leveled up yet. Really nice shield, 13k, and Spinal Surge synergy. All your allies get a shield that absorbs up to 30% of their max health, and Major Vitality for 6 seconds. So everything, they're healed an extra 16% too. So that can also be a really handy one. And then of course your aggressive Warhorn, which you should be using. You should try and time it, so you go 3, 2, 1, Warhorn. Try and time it so that everyone puts their ultimates down together. Oh, another thing I should say, on your front bar, you can use this Unstoppable. I'm still trying it out. I'm not 100% convinced with it yet. What you can also use is hardened armour, which also gives you major resolve major resolve. Also gives you a damage shield and returns some magicka damage. But it is quite an expensive skill to use all the time at 2.5k magicka. But when you've only got a pot of 17k, if you're having to use that quite a bit, it adds up. Another thing to say, you can use in situations. There's 2 reasons to use this one. Igneous Shield gives you a damage shield. What you can do is put it somewhere like there. You place that down. Your healing instantly becomes more effective by 16%. So if you put that down and then your heal's more effective. Another reason for using that is for this one here. No, yes, minor brutality. Every time you put that down, your group gets minor brutality. So if that's not already active, there's another reason to increase your... It's only weapon damage, not spell damage, but it can be really effective. The only thing left is champion points. These will be very varied based on what you're doing. I currently have 100 into Ironclad, probably more than some people would, but the reason being is that I do a lot of Vet DLC dungeons where I'm taking heavy attacks. Most of the time you should really be dodge rolling heavy attacks, but if that's not possible, you don't want to die even when you're blocking and you've got a shield, so all the help I can get, the better. The more help I can get, the better. I don't have any in Spell Shield because my spell resistance is already at the cap without any help. That's because of the Nord passive, which gives you almost 4k extra spell resistance. These just equalize, but obviously these are going to change with your trials anyway. Again, going to change with what you're doing. Break free, like I said, I've got 35 in that. Hopefully I'll be able to take some of that out once I have Unstoppable morphed, and I'd be able to put it into maybe giving myself more stamina recovery or even a bit more magicka recovery. Another thing to say is when you are attacking, you want to try and get as many heavy attacks in as possible. This is going to be your main way of getting back stamina resources, so heavy attack whenever you can, but be aware of, you know, obviously you're not blocking, so you have to really know your boss and make sure that you're able to get the shield back up in time just in case. Yep, just full on that one. These don't matter quite as much for a tank. Obviously you want that one nice and high. If you use leeching, this one procs leeching or increases its effectiveness, poison damage, and then also damage over time. The last thing I'll show you is the sets you can use. So I have 3 or 4 main sets. I'll either use Allocation, Imperium. Imperium is really nice for the damage shield it gives the group, which procs, I think it's like 75% of the time or something like that. And then leeching. Generally, leeching is it's a completely selfish set, so you really only want to be using it if you're dying, if you can't actually stay alive. I think the one time I used it is when we did 5-man Enhoff. I used it on the second last boss, the triplets, because they can be quite sore by when you're solo attacking them. So that's my weapons and my jewelry: Allocation, leeching, and Imperium. Body pieces, basically just Yonokrans or Ebon. I am working on getting Gallenway because it can be helpful in certain situations. Yonokran gives everyone minor courage when you taunt, and Ebon, it's just that extra health, but you also take more healing and you give yourself even more extra health. So if you were to put on something like Ebon and Imperium or Ebon and Leeching, instantly you're going to have like 45k health and you are super tanky. Again, these stats right now, they're like the bare minimum. You only create an Allocation. They're hard to use together. So generally speaking, I'll run into a fight, buff myself up. I've got the wrong skill on because I was playing around with that. Oh yeah, the unstoppable one is in the heavy armour skill line. So that's my major resolve. So I'll buff up with my green dragon blood and then my major resolve. Stick down blood fountain and then go bam. Right, everyone is now taunted. Stick down maybe talons and then I'll start going around taunting everyone with my triangle. Taunt, 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 taunt. And then just sticking a few minor memes where you can with your square. And then obviously keep reapplying that. And you've got your shield, your circle, whenever you think you're going to get attacked. Got a nice shield you can see on the health bar. And then just, pull people in or range attack whenever you need to. It's, situational, and you'll get your own. It's not rotation so much. It's good to know exactly what skills are where and be able to use them nice and easily. I think that's it. I think I've covered everything. Any questions, just let me know.